Hi everyone, my name is Saurabh, and today in this video we are going to learn API integration with Redux. Okay, or you can say Redux with API integration, whatever you want to say that. Like how we can use Redux to handle our API request and all the things. So let's just create a folder here, okay, and we will just install the create tab here. So I'm gonna say Redux pack, and I'm gonna open this in VS Code. Once it's done, you have to just open your terminal and say npx create react app and whatever the name you want to give. Like I'm gonna say practice. Okay, just give it a practice. So it will take some time. We will just wait for some time. Now you can see our package is installed here, and it is saying that run this command, that is uh, change directory practical, and then you have to say npm start so you can run our application. So I'm just going to simply say cd pack. Okay, and we are going to open this in VS Code. So I will say code space dot. Now it will open the instance of that folder in a new VS Code. So this is our main folder, that is we have installed this application using create react command. Okay. Now we have to start npm start. Okay. We have to run npm start over here. So just it will start the server. So server is starting. Before that, we can simply create some folders which we are going to use components. So we are going to make a simple to-do application, okay, using Redux, and we will do API call, and we will also have a JSON server. So we will going to use both of them, okay. So we can make a API call on JSON server. Now create one more folder called pages, and one more that is called routes. Okay. Once it's done, we have to go to the, like, our website is open now, as you can see here. So let's just go and install some packages. Okay. So open a new terminal here. Let me just increase the size of the terminal, and I will run a command here for installing some packages which we are going to use for the Redux. So I'm going to install npm React Redux. So I will say npm I React Redux. Okay. Next thing we will need Redux. Next thing we will need Redux thumb. Okay. And next thing we will need Axios, so we can make a API request, HTTP request basically. And another thing we will need is React router DOM, so you can do routing. React router DOM. Okay. If you wanna do routing, you can use it. So I usually do it. So we can install these packages for the initial purpose. Now I'm going to use Chakra UI, so I'm going to go to the Chakra UI website. Chakra UI, okay, and you will find get started button here. Once you click, you will get the code of the installation. You can simply go here. Okay, here we are. Okay, so I have written the wrong spelling here. It is Redux, and it will get installed. So we are going to open one more terminal. Here I will say npm I Chakra UI, whatever you have copied from the Chakra UI website, just paste it and press the enter button. It will install the Chakra UI, all the things. Okay, related things. Now we are going to make some pages here. So first we will need a home page. So I'm going to create a new file, homepage.jsx. Next thing we are going to use routes, all routes.jsx. Let's just give something in homepage function, export default function homepage. Okay. And once it's done, return the components. Okay. So my Chakra UI is installed, and I'm just simply use box here and write homepage here. Okay, and go to the all routes and simply just now we have to set up some of the things. So as you know, we are using Redux here, so we can simply create a folder for the Redux. So Redux. And in this Redux, we are going to create store.js. Okay. Now, also we need, when we are using Redux, you can use for many things like login purposes. So here we are using for to do. So I'm going to create a folder called to do in this Redux folder, and I'm going to create 4 files. That is, first is to do dot types, whatever the types we needed, dot js. Next folder should file should be to do dot actions. What will be the action we are going to perform? Dot js. And the next folder is view dot reducer. Okay, reducer dot js. Okay. Now go to the store, and here we have to export the store. Okay. So const, you can say export const store equal to legacy create store. This function will be provided by Redux. And here we have to pass the root reducer. So I'm going to create a root reducer here. Let root reducer, and it will take a combined reducer function that is coming from Redux. And here we will pass an object here. So whatever the reducer you are making first, I'm making for the to do. So I'm going to pass the to do reducer here. Okay. So right now we don't have created the reducer. So I'm simply just passing this root reducer for right now. And the next thing we are going to apply a middleware, and the middleware name is thumb. Okay, which we have installed. Now we are going to going in index.js, and here we have to use provider, and here we will say store is equal to provider, store is equal to, and simply say okay. I think provider is not imported, so just import it provider, and just write store here, and you will see the recommendation from the VS Code, that is it is present in our to do Redux folder. Okay, so I'm going to just import it. Okay, just wait. Store, it is, yeah, it is imported. Now, next thing we are going to use browser router for the routing. So I will say your browser router. Okay, and we will wrap our application here again with the browser router. Next thing we are going to use Chakra provider. So we'll say Chakra provider, and here we will again wrap our application with that, and just format document so it will look clear. Okay. Now we are ready with the first step, and we are going to create our all routes. Okay. So just say export default function all routes, and simply go and return route. And here we will call route and add our we will add our all the routes. Suppose I am going to use homepage here, so I will say route, and simply I will provide a path. The path will be this, that is our homepage. It is a home path, and element which we are going to render, it is our homepage. So I will simply invoke the homepage here. Our path is ready. Now we have to just simply go to the app.js code file, and we have to remove whatever the provided by our default template in create React app. And I will simply change this div to box because we are using Chakra UI. And now we will just simply invoke our all routes file, all routes, and all the route will get connected. Now if you go to your uh, you know uh, local file, you can see the home page here. As you can see, home page. So we have successfully connected our routes here. Okay. Now I'm going to open this in different browser because I have already opened it. So I'm going here and I will paste it here, and it will look a little bit good in dark mode. So now we are done. We have connected our homepage. Now we can simply work on our homepage. Okay. Now we will create a to-do component here. To-do.jsx. But before that, I am gonna make one more thing. That is, we will create our first Redux. Okay. So for the Redux, as you know that. we have, okay, I'm going to give a little bit of an illustration that how it will work. So suppose this is your application, okay, and this is your data or any server, suppose server, okay. Now, you are try. Suppose we are making a to-do application, okay. Suppose we are actually making the to-do application, okay. So if someone is going to add a to-do, okay, add a to-do, okay. Now this will go in here, okay. This will go to the server to add in our database, right? Whatever we are putting. So there can be three possibilities as your to-do will be added in your simply database. Okay, it goes to the server and simply added. Now next possibility can be it is in the it will take some time, so it will be in the loading state. Okay, suppose it is we have sent it, but server is taking time, so it will give a loading state to the user that your process is still in loading. Okay, you can say your request is still in processing mode. So we will we will make sure we will have a loading state. Okay. Now next thing it can be that you send a request to make another you know uh, to do, but the request got failed. So you have to handle the error. Okay. So basically each request have three things common. That is, it will have loading, it will have success, it will have error. These two are compulsory in every success or loading or error. Like this loading state, it will be compulsory in every every request. That is, if something is creating, it will get load, and if it is error, so loading will be false. Okay, and if it is success, then also a loading will happen before that. Okay, so basically we have to handle three requests. So I'm going to now create types that is have three types, that is loading, success, error. And we have four things. Like if we are making a to-do application, we will perform CRUD operation, okay, using Redux. So we will have four things. That is, we will have get to do, okay. We'll create get all the to-dos that we are waiting. We will have add to do, okay. So let me just create something like this. Uh, Create to do, or you can say add to do. Simply add to do, get to do, okay. Next thing we have to update to do, and the next thing is delete to do, okay. And these three things have three states always. That is loading, success, and error. Like we have to handle these three states for every each request, for get request, for add request, for update request, for delete request, right? So we have to create those types. Suppose we are going to have a get request, so we will say get export const get, and the next thing is get what we are get loading, or you can say get to do loading. Okay, get to do loading is equal to uh, get to do loading. So this is a simple string we are assigning to this variable, which we will compare in every switch cases. Okay, now we have to make for loading like success. Next we have to make it for error. Okay, and we will also change here, that is success and error. Okay. Now we have to copy these three things and again paste here for add to do, for update to do, for delete to do, right? So we will simply make cursor, multiple cursor, and add. Here we have to change it to add. So we'll say add, and here we'll say next thing is date. So I will say date, and here we'll say update, and here we'll say delete, right? And here we'll also say delete. So we have successfully created our types. Now we are going to create our reducer. So for the reducer, we have to say let initial state is equal to, and we will say here, see, we have three things. Okay, loading, error, and data. So our state contain loading, error, and data. So we will say loading is false. So initially it will be false. Error, initially it will also false. Okay. So I'm just putting it false. And the next thing we are going to have is data. Now we are going to create our reducer variable. So const export default, or you can say export const, whatever you want to name. I'm going to say to do reducer. Okay. And this to do reducer will have two parameters, that is state and action. So state, and we will assign this to initial state, that is we have. Okay. And next thing is we have action. So for the action, we are having two things inside the action. That is, action is just an object which contains two things. That is, if I tell you about that, suppose we are going to say there's something like that. Let type and payload. Basically, action contains two things, that is type and payload. So I will say action. So these two things, this thing is containing. Okay. So instead of writing this here, what we can see, we can simply destructure it here. Okay, while getting it. So we don't have to write two times, right? Now we will make sure we have a switch case. So and we are going to see the type, that which type of request it is, like this dispatch request it is, and we have a simply default case here, that will simply return your state. That is whatever the state is present, that is not matching with the case, we can simply return the state, so our application will not get crashed. Okay. Now make some cases. Suppose first case should be get to do loading, because whenever something is going to get it will take some time and we have to show the user a loading bar or something. Okay. So it is necessary. Now we will return simply here what we will return. So we are basically destructuring our state here. Okay. So basically we can put this to object symbols, and we can simply put the dot, that is spreader, call it spread symbol, and we can simply spread state, and whatever the inside it is, it will get spread something like this, whatever it is. Okay. It will, no. So you have to know about object property, like how objects work in JavaScript. And once you get to know about it, you will understand like what I'm doing here. Okay. So learn your basics. Now we will say loading state should be true because we are in the loading state, and that's it. Just make it true. Okay. Now next thing should be success string. Okay. So I'm going to say loading success. So once it gets success, I will say loading should false because we don't need loading. Our data is loaded. So I will say page simple rate false. Now next thing I will say error should be also false because sometimes it we face errors and the state is always become true. That's why whenever we are getting success, we just make it false here. And we are going to set it our data. This is that data to the you know whatever we are getting, like payload. That is payload we're passing. We will simply just make it like this. Now we have one more case, that is handling the error. If there is something wrong, then we will say get to do error, and simply we will remove this payload, and then also this false from the make error true, loading should be false. Okay. So this is how we handle our get case. Okay. Now we have to handle our add case. Okay. So I will just copy the previous one. So this Redux thing is a little bit, lengthy process to make. So make sure you have a patience. So loading. Now it will get, we don't need payload here. Everything will be same, but just we have to change some cases here. That's it. Make it add, make it error here, and everything will be, you know, everything will be same. I think yes. Now again copy this and make it for update. So you guys don't get bored because I'm doing this. So I'll say update and I'll say loading and date and I'll say success and date and I'll say error. That is done. And one more time you have to call for the delete functionality. That's it. And our reducer will be fine. Success and delete and this is error and it's done. We have successfully made our created our reducer. Now we have to go to the action thing, and also we have to connect this reducer to the root reducer. So we will simply say to do. We will make a name for it. So I will say to do manager. Okay, manager, and we will say to do reducer. We will simply import it. So our now store has our root reducer as the reducer that is named to do manager. And whatever the reducer you have, you can simply add it here, and it will combine it. And where you want to use it for like whatever you want to use, you can use it by accessing this key. Okay, whatever you name it here. So it's done for now, and now we are going to make to do actions. So let me just create some actions. So I will say export, and we have get like export cons. We have get data. Okay, so I will say get data, and simply I will put a function here, and we are going to make a current function so that uh, so whenever we use reducers and thunks, so we have to make a curry function. So we can simply import our reducer. Basically, you can say pass our not reducer, dispatcher. Okay, dispatch. Here we will make a variable called dispatch. And in get request, you don't require this actually because we are making a get data. We don't passing anything per argument here. But still, I keep it here. I don't know why, but I still keep it. So let's just create for the get data. So first we need a try catch method here. Okay, and before making any like in this we will make a API request, and before that we are going to dispatch our first type, that is get loading. So we will say type and we will say get loading. Okay, get to do loading. Now in this here we have to make also this async function, so we can make async await call, or you can say use async await here. So let's say let response is equal to await axios dot get, and we have to pass the URL. So for the URL, we have to create our JSON server here. So I have already installed JSON server. You can simply install it npm I JSON server. Go to the here npm JS. You can npm JSON server. JSON server. If you just there, yeah, here you can see this. And you can simply copy this command npm json server and you can install it. So I have installed it globally, so I'm not going to use it. I will simply say npx. Maybe we can see documentation like how to start it. So if you go down there, we can simply say here json server. Okay, we have to say simply json server watch db.json, and it will start it. So I'm going to not use it right now. I'm not going to use 300 port right now. I'm going to use uh, for the port we have to make two times this hyphen and then port number. So I'm going to use 8080 because I have already running this my React application on 3000. So I'm going to use it with 8080. Okay. Now this is our base URL. So simply you can copy it, and if you just hit it, you can see some db.json data is coming. So if I show you the database, it is here. The file is created. When you run this command, a file is created basically. So if you go there, you can see some, post and whatever. So if you just go and hit post end, so post, I think, okay, it is post. So you can see here whatever inside your db.json it is showing. So I'm going to remove this all, okay, and I'm going to just keep this post, and we will name it to dos. And here and title instead of author, I'm going to say status, and I will make it boolean. So I will say false. Okay, false. So now if I hit to dos here, so you can see data here. Okay. Now simply we have a base URL now, so I can simply copy it, and I'm going to create a. So sorry. Something is- Okay. Now I'm simply going to create a folder called constants, and I'm going to keep our base URL as a constant. So I will make a constant.js file. Oh, SS file. I don't know about it. Okay. And here we will say const export, and I will say base URL. Okay, is equal to paste. So export should be here. Okay. And we can simply use wherever we want to use this base URL. So I'm not going to use our endpoint, so I will simply keep here to dos for every request because we have to use it in every request. So I'm going to simply keep it the whole URL with endpoint. Now, if I go to the actions, we have to give the base URL here. So I'm going to keep it, import that base URL, and we will have to get that data. So I will keep, you can name it whatever you want. Like I'm going to say payload. That payload is equal to res dot data. So whatever the response given by the server, this data key will have this response object have a data key, and this data key have all the objects that is present in our db.json. That is this inside a array. Okay. So where we are on the actions. So now we are going to dispatch our second command, that is once the request is completed, we are going to simply dispatch, that is get loading. Like we have the data, that's why we are dispatching it. So get to do and we'll say success. So just make a type here, okay. Simply type and get to do success. And with that also we have to pass the payload. So we have already like we have already a payload key. So you can simply write this something like this, or in the ES6 you can simply, if the value and the key is same, that then you can simply, simply pass the key name and the value name as once. So it will be recognized by the JavaScript. So I'm going to not making it little confusing. So I'm simply renaming it as a data here. Okay, data, and in the payload we are going to pass a data. Okay, whatever the data we are receiving from the json.db.json. Now, once the request is made, I'm going to simply dispatch one more thing, that is our get, if this is the error case, okay, if there is error, we can simply catch it here, okay, and we will pass it here, simply. That's it. We have created our simply our get data request. Now we have to also make a add request, add data request. So what we will do, we will simply copy it, okay, just copy it. and paste it here. Change the name, that is add data. If you want to name it something like meaningful, you can say get to do's. Okay, simply to do's and keep it add to do's or add to do's, whatever. Add to do's. Okay. Now, if you are adding something, we need that object to add. So that's why we have kept this uh, function, so we can get whatever we are passing through, passing it inside that particular function. So we have to pass it here. That is our object that you will see in some time we are going to pass it. So this object have whatever we are going to create, make to do. Okay, whatever the to do we are going to create. Now instead of get, we have to make it add. Okay, and rest await base URL is this, and we are going to use post because we are making something, creating something. So post, and whatever the object whatever we have to create, we have to pass this object there. The thing which we are receiving, and we don't need any response here, and whatever we are doing here, we can simply just we don't need payload any. We can simply just that say that just go with that state, that is it is success. And here also we have to change as add and error. So if there is an error in adding, we will catch it. For update, we are going to require two things, that is our object, which we are going to object whatever the things we are doing, and one thing is ID, whatever the ID. Now instead of add, we are going to say update. Okay, and instead of add, we are going to say here update, right? And say loading. Also you can simply say update success. You can simply say update error. And here we will say here instead of update, we can say patch. Okay, patch request. And we will need ID here. So we have to also pass the ID in the URL so we can catch this thing. Suppose we are going to patch this one. Suppose here we have to object. Okay, in our database. Suppose we have to object. Okay, and this it has an ID of 2. Okay, now we are going to patch this title. Suppose I'm going to make a JSON server 1. So or in the second one I have to make JSON server 2. Okay, there's something like this. So we have to cache this ID. Okay, so you can simply, if you want to get this data, you can if I show you in the JSON server, if I refresh it, so we are getting whole data on to do's endpoint. Okay, now if I want to get this second data, we have to simply say 2 by ID. Okay, so we'll get that particular data which is associated with the ID. So that's why we are requiring ID here in this to do actions. We are requiring ID so we can update that particular thing. So in the URL, we have our base URL that is completed till this to do. Okay, we need to add this ID or whatever the ID we are going to change. So for that, you can simply add it here, this ID. So I'm going to simply make a string concatenation basically. We will add a slash and we will put a dollar sign, that is our string template, and we can simply pass the ID. So it will update that particular object in the database. And once it gets success, it will show the, it will update the status and all the things. And it's get done. Now, one thing also we are going to do, that is delete. So just copy it and simply put here, change the name to delete, right? And here we will not need object because we need simply ID that we are going to delete. Suppose we are going to delete two second object, so I will require that ID. We'll pass this. We don't need this thing. We don't need pass. We need delete, and also we need delete to do loading, delete to success, and delete to error. Okay, so we have successfully created our actions, and now we are going to work on our UI. So I'm going to create those. Okay, I have done one mistake. I think. Uh, so sorry. We have to do this inside a action. So that's not great. I think we have done a very bad mistake here. The whole video is now fucked up. Okay, we are going to paste it here. Okay, simply. And sorry for that. So we have done this entire. Now we have to change wherever we use. Like we have used in reducer, so we have to change it. So from component, we have to change it as a. Sorry guys, it was my mistake. So first we have to make it as a. Here we have to do the change. We have to say Redux, and then we have to go to the to do, and then we have to go to the types. So this thing will be get updated. Now we have to do the same thing inside that particular thing like actions. And here we don't need that kind of path. We can simply say to do types here. It will work. So yeah, it's fixed now, but I think it was a great mistake done by me. So don't worry, let's just stick with the video. So export default. We are going to make a simple to uh, that has an input box and a button. Okay, so I'm going to say that it will say that enter to do and add to the database. So default function, and we will say to do and return. And simply we can say here we have a v stack. Okay, v stack, and then v stack has a two things, that is input, and that input coming from chakra UI. That is great. And now we are going to use a state here, so we'll say const, and we will say text. Okay, or value, whatever you want to name it. So I'm going to say text. Okay, text, set text, it is equal to use state, and this use state have a normal string, and I will say value is equal to text, and whatever we are going to change, so I will put on change meta, and we'll say here something like this. Okay, like this, or we can simply put e here, and we'll say set text e dot target dot value, something like this. So whatever we will write, it will update it in input box, and we will simply get this text here. Okay, now we are going to need button. So we put button here, and I will say add to do. Okay, and yes, and we will simply put on click here, and whenever we click, it will call a function called add to do, and this add to do basically uh we will make a function here const add to do, sorry, add to do is equal to, and this would be like something like this, and it will dispatch whatever you are going to make. So I'm going to say dispatch. So we are going to make a variable called dispatch is equal to so we will say use dispatcher use dispatch basically, and we will simply dispatch the action functions. So I will say dispatch, and we have a get to do's function. Okay. No, sorry, we are adding it. No? So we will say add to do's. So we have created this function inside the action.js, and we will say add to do's. It will take one thing, that is object. So I will pass the object directly here. That is our title should be whatever the we will write in this text input box. When we click, it will going to run this function, and whatever we have written in this input box, it will come to the text and it will add it to our title. Okay. Now next thing we are going to put a status. So by default it will be false status, and it will be false, right? And once it's done, it will simply add the to do inside it. So if you want to check it, we can simply check it now. We have to just simply invoke this to do component inside our home page. So if I go to my home page, home page, where are you? Yeah, here, home page. And now I'm going to give a heading here, that is to do list or to do app. Okay, great. And here we will have to invoke that component. So I will simply, give some gaps. So I will put v stack here, I think. Whatever box you want to put, okay, and give a gap to it. And I will say height is equal to, and I will say 30. And then we will call our to do component, remove this home. And if you go there, we will see uh, input box and add to do. Now, instead of h1, you can say heading here, heading. Now you can see here that it's looking a little bit weird, so we can simply pass the width here, and we will keep it like 350 pixels, and margin should be auto, so it will come into the center. Okay, and you will see something like this. Great. Also you have to put a placeholder, so it will look in input. We will simply give a placeholder. Sorry, placeholder. We'll say enter to do. So it will look something like this. Now, if you enter something here, it will get updated in your db.json. Suppose I'm going to add something like this. First to do, and press enter. And if you go to your db.json, you can see here it is added in our db.json, right? Now we have to retrieve all the to-dos that is there. So we can simply create a to-do item component. So I'm going to create it. So I will say to-do item, okay, .js. I will say export default function, and I will say to-do item, right? And I will simply give some props here, like whatever we are passing from there. I will say pro title stat id status, right? And we will return here a card, that is card. So it will look a little bit good UI card body, and this card body has one component dot h stack, and inside h stack we are going to put all the things. So we will make sure it has a width of our card, which it has a width of 300 or 350 pixels. It will look great, and our h stack should be 100%, I think. Okay, and this justify content should be space between, so that everything looks perfect. And now here we will put a badge for the ID. So I'm going to say badge, and this is coming from Chakra UI basically. This badge is coming from Chakra UI. You see, yeah. And we are going to pass our ID. Here we will show our ID and give a color scheme to the yellow. It will look great. And one more thing we have to put here, that is our text, that what we have written to our to do title, everything what you can say. Now we will pass the title here. Great. Now we will pass pending and complete requests. So I will say badge again, and we will make a condition here. That is, if it is true, like status is true. If it's status, then show that is true, like it's completed. So you will show not done, or you can say if it's true, you will show completed. Okay, and if it's false, you will show pending. Right. Now we can also set the color scheme according to it. Like here, yeah, I set color which make it scheme. Okay, what color scheme is different. So here we can say color scheme is if the status. Suppose if the status. So I'm going to use color scheme that is it's done. So we will make simply green. Okay, and if it's not, then we will say red. Right. Now I'm going to use one button here, two button basically. That is, the first button is mm, that is, it has also a condition that is if status, right? If status, we will say not done, because it's true means completed, so we'll say not done. And if it's not done, that is if that is false, we will say click to done, make it done. Okay. And we will say color scheme, whatever you want to keep. Like I'm going to simply say green or something. Uh, it's depend upon you. Like you can keep a blue also. Maybe there is a blue. Okay. Now one more thing, uh, that is our delete button. Okay. So we don't need any condition here. We can simply delete it. So delete and make it the red. I think red will be great. And now we have to make their functional, like functioning, that how it is going to work. And as you can see here, we have done something wrong. Uh, I think, let me just copy this. No, we have done right. I'm sorry. On click, we will have to dispatch a function, or say dispatch whatever you want to dispatch. So I'm going to dispatch, like we are going to basically say that when click on done, we will simply whatever, like if it is completed, like status is true, then it will make false, and if it's false, then it will make true. So I will say dispatch. So for dispatch, we have to first make import it. So let dispatch is equal to use dispatch. Okay, and in this dispatch, we have to say dispatch the update to do's. Okay, and here we will say that we will need objects. So object should be whatever we are going to update. So I'm going to change the status. So status should be not status. Like whatever the object, like it is done, then we will say it is not done. Then it is, if it is not done, then we will say it is done. Like something like this. And once the object is passed, we can simply pass our ID. So we have imported the ID from the user here, from here. Okay. So we will pass the ID and it's done. Now for the delete also, we have to make something like that. So we'll say on click, and we will say something like this and this. Make a dispatcher function, and we will say here we have to pass ID. So delete to do's, and I will pass ID, and it will get deleted. Now we are done with it, and we can simply check like what we have created. So I'm going to map it in the home page, whatever the data. So a little bit of work is pending here. So I'm going to now we are going to use our Redux here. Okay. So one thing also, we have created our Redux reducer or actions. So once the to do is added, now we want to make it refresh so that now our new data is get refreshed. So what we will do here, we will simply dispatch again this function, get to do function. So it will get again, updated. So I will make it like this, get to do's and get to do's. Whatever, whenever we make something like delete, update, whatever, it will again add this new data by dispatching it, this function, whatever we have created. Now just go to our home page and we will create a state here that will store our all the to dos, const to dos and set to dos is equal to, it should be array. Take a state that is use state and it should be array, empty array right now, and we will make a use effect here. Okay, and we will dispatch our function dispatch, right? So we will take our dispatcher here, so let dispatch equal to use dispatch, right? And we will dispatch the data, that function, sorry, get cruise. Okay, and now it will, once we dispatch it, our new data will so also we will now require redux here. So let's just uh, get that redux. So I will say const and we will simply put our object. Now we will have a loading error and data is equal to use selector. To use our redux things, reducers and all the things, we have to make use this inbuilt function that is provided by React Redux. So we will take a simple variable called state here, and I will say state dot to do manager. Okay. Now whatever the things containing this store object, that to do manager in to do reducer. To do reducer, this is initial state that is holding whatever the change is done. It is holding in the state, and we will getting that particular states, all the data and all the things from here in this all the things. Okay. Now we can use this data and whatever we can do whatever we want. So what we will make one more use effect here, and in this use effect we will say we will pass the data dependency. That is, whenever this data gets changed, what I want to do, I want to do that set to dos and this data basically. I want to set this data in our to dos. Okay. Now we have this to dos. Okay. Whatever we have. Now one thing also I'm gonna say, like if there is loading state. Okay. So I'm going to simply return a simple heading, okay, and I will say it's loading, right? Whenever this thing is in loading state, I'm going to return this, not this hour, not components and pages, okay? And if it is error, I'm going to say simply there is something error, right? So, and now once it's done, now we're going to map our data. So I will simply take this box and put down here, and I'm going to use that to do object. Now, one more thing before that, what we have done, what we have to do here, our call. Uh, like, yeah, it's done. I think we don't have to do here anything. Go to the home page and create a V stack. Okay, V stack. So we can load all the things vertically. V stack and make it margin auto so that it will in center, right? And then we have to simply map. So here we have to do dot map and give the element here. Now simply say call our to do item component, and here we will pass this all the data which we are coming from there, and it will go into this to-do item for each, and it will get the structure from this element which we are passing by spreading it, right? And it will going to show there. Now let's just see text is not defined. Great. Go to your to-do item and sorry, here and wherever we use text, just import it. It will get imported. And as you can see here, it is showing whatever we have created. Now you can simply design it by not giving a width if you want. So make it at least or no, uh, I think make it a little bit more like 450, I think. Yes, it's looking great. Right, it's looking great, I think. Now let's try our updating function. Like if I say done, it will get done. If I again click it like not done, it will going to say pending. If I delete, it's get deleted. Done, done, not done, delete. Let's add to do. A add, great, done, delete, done. So this is how we use actually Redux to make our application using APIs, right? You can say we will whatever we how we handle all the API requests with Redux, whatever you can say. So that's it in this video. We will meet in the next video. Thank you so much for seeing this video, and we'll meet in this. Thank you.